Hi, good afternoon. Well, it was a good one. So, my name is Soragan. Today, my presentation is about the RouterOS Firewall. So, we will look at how we're going to do the firewall with the RouterOS. Okay. So, many of you maybe don't know me. So, I'm Soragan. I'm a MikroTik evangelist. Why evangelist? Because I'm trying to get non-MikroTik people to use MikroTik. And I've known MikroTik since the RouterOS 2.9. I'm also a certified MikroTik trainer, and these are how you can actually look for me. I'm from Singapore, and MikroTik SG is a training center for MikroTik in Singapore, and we are specialized in training the teachers and offering MikroTik to the education, particularly the MikroTik Academy. So we are based in Singapore, and besides MikroTik.sg, we also have a meetup.com community that we call it MikroTik User Group Singapore. So this is an event that we organize monthly or sometimes every 2 or 3 months that all the MikroTik users in Singapore will come together. If we have something to discuss, we will discuss. If not, we will just eat a pizza. So it's like just well, gathering, get to know each other, who is the MikroTik users, and have a chit chat. If you have any problem using MikroTik, we share and possibly look for solutions. In my presentation, you will see that this is a very simple one. It's about the firewall that you can find. One of the features out of so many features in MikroTik RouterOS. So we see at the general definition of a firewall and identify whether this device is it a firewall or is it a router? Because these two things nowadays that there isn't much difference between the functionality of these two devices. If you have a firewall, most probably you have a routing function inside. But if you have a router, you might have a basic firewall function inside the router. And type of firewall function and capability, and what are the information that we need to have before we start building our firewall. Also, we will look at RouterOS firewall features. Is actually in the RouterOS, the firewall is more than just a firewall. It doesn't function as firewall. It has a functionality to support other features inside the MikroTik. And one of the example of the firewall, and they say if you have any questions, then so feel free to stop me if you have any question in the middle. So we have to keep in mind, security is not friendly. Meaning that if you want to have a very secure device or network, most probably your network is not friendly. Friendly means that you are giving your users freedom to do things, whatever they want, and they won't have to bother you. But in security, us as an administrator, we want to know every single thing is going through, which the user, 99% of the user will feel that it's inconvenience to have this. Also, less trust means more secure. In security world, you trust nobody. You trust no one. You don't trust any of your ISP. You don't trust any of your LAN users, because you don't know what they are doing. You don't know what's inside their station or PCs. Okay, and firewall is a thing that need maintenance continuously. You can't just set up a firewall, leave it there and expect it to run for 10 years without any problem issues. Technology change, as well as what the hackers and viruses are doing. And so you always have to update yourself as administrator of this firewall and to update what are the rules or the functionality inside to make sure that it's secure and can deter the latest attack. Okay, firewall is also not smarter than administrator. It's not something that you configure, you leave it there, it will do its job as a firewall and take care of the security for you. No, it won't. As administrator, you have to go and gather information, you have to learn, and then you have to pass it to your firewall. So whatever that is inside your firewall actually is come from you as an administrator. So what is a firewall? Firewall can be a hardware or it can be a software. Hardware means that you have a hardware that is appliances that design with software built inside, but this software depends on the hardware to work. Meaning that you cannot take out this software, put it in any of the similar device and expect it to work. No. So that is a hardware as appliance firewall. Software is, for example, is something like a Windows firewall or the Linux IP tables or the pfSense. Okay, so firewall it interconnects between two networks with a different trust. So we emphasize on the different trust. Why? Because firewall is about security. You don't trust each other. You don't trust what's coming from inside your LAN. You don't trust what's coming from inside, outside your network. That's why you want to monitor it and you want to control it. So firewall actually control the flow of the network traffic. So whenever there is a packet coming in from the internet, you want to know what is this for, whether you want to accept it or you want to deny it or you want to do something on this package. So you actually control the flow. It can be blocked or it can be rejected. There are actually three common types of firewall in terms of functionality. So it's a packet filter, network address translation, and proxy. Of course, there are other types that maybe like you say that some products will have come out with unified security management, IDS, IPS. Those are actually a variant of firewall that do more things than the firewall. But we are looking at the basic firewalls that actually allow you to control your network. So the first type is the packet filter. This is the most basic firewall. If you see a firewall and there's no packet filter function inside, throw it away. It's not a firewall. This is a must-have function inside because you are trying to filter what is coming in and what's going out of your network. Okay, packet filter also analyze the incoming and outgoing packets, whether from between different LAN interface, different WAN interface. Nowadays, people can have maybe one or two or even more than two ISP upstream interface or WAN interface. Okay. And there's a stateless and stateful firewall. Stateless is the firewall that when you do action, you just forget about it. It doesn't track or doesn't remember what it has been, it actually has done. So if there's a packet coming through the firewall, you just accept, deny, but it doesn't know whether this packet, when there's a follow-up on the packet, it will just treat it as a new packet. It doesn't know what's inside. It's every single packet is just a packet. There's no relation in between the packet. That is a stateless firewall. So stateful firewall actually it remembers what it has done on a packet or a connection. So it has this in RouterOS. This is called a connection tracking. So each of the connection from the internal to external, external to internal, you can see it inside. and you know where it's coming from, where it's going to. That is the stateful firewall. So you know the state of this connection that you have just decide what to do. Second type of the firewall is not actually called firewall. It's a network address translation. This method actually initially is to resolve the limitation, because there's a limited number of IP address that you can have. So as I think most of you will know that there's a class A, class B, class C, there's a LAN, a public IP address, there's a private IP address. So NAT originally is designed to resolve this issue where there's not enough public IP for all the users in the internet. But because of these methods, right, it actually block that the new initiated connection from the external network. Because what the NAT do is that when you configure it to translate certain address from the LAN to the WAN, you only understand that. The rest of the thing, you will not know what to do. So when there's a new connection coming in, it will treat it that, okay, this connection is for the firewall itself. Whatever, if there's a rules to that match this incoming connection to the firewall, yes, it will do an action. Otherwise, it's the same as that you don't have any firewall. That's why the NAT doesn't protect your firewall. So you have a NAT rules to translate so your users can go to the internet, but you must also have a filter rules to protect the device itself. The third common type is the proxy. Some people call it proxy servers. Most of you maybe know it as a web proxy because it's most used in the web. In a network with limited connection to the internet, proxy usually used as a cache to allow you to have a local content that is copied from the internet, so the users can have a faster speed in downloading this content and serve to their users. But as this is a middleman for the LAN users and any host on the internet, because it's in the middle, it becomes a point where you can actually do some rules, protect your users, or decide on what are the things you want to do. So most proxy are working on the layer 7, which is the application. So to design a firewall, there's two things that you must at least know: OSI layers and network protocol. Because firewall is about inspecting a packet. So for the communication between the network, you will have to know what is the content inside. You have to know what kind of protocol that you want to filter up. You want to create the rules, and in which the one that you are trying to filter, in which layer of the OSI. Whether you want to filter a MAC address, or you just want to filter a particular IP address, or port numbers, or even a layer 7 application. For example, if you want to filter out the peer-to-peer, or you want to limit the connection and the speed of the peer-to-peer. So where should we deploy our firewall? So if the round one is our network, right? Firewall should be deployed in the network perimeters, meaning that before anything coming out from your network or anything coming in from the internet, it should go through the firewall. This is the gate. This is the gate between your network and other networks. So this is where you should put in the firewall. It's not always the internet. It could be your customer where they have their own network and they want to interconnect with your network. It would be best to have a firewall deployed there, because, as I said in the beginning, when you talk about security, trust no one. You have to expect that every single connection coming in and out is a possibility of attack. From there, then you can create a very secure firewall that can protect your network. So now you know where you should deploy your firewall. So what are the things that you need? Before you know who, you will never know who is the attackers, but before that, you should know who is your users. Are you the boss of your own network? Or you are an employee that managing your boss network? You have to know that, because you can't block your boss, right? So there must be some exception there, but of course you have to know. And you have to know what are the software and application that running inside your network that will need the access to another network. Because you don't want to block your accounting software. You don't want to block your boss software. So you have to know what is the software is running. And also what are the servers is running. Because servers running inside your network, they might need a connection from the internal to the internet. And some of them in the DMZ, they will require the firewall to allow connection from the external into the servers, because they are serving some content. And you have to know what kind of network connections you are having. So RouterOS Firewall is more than just a firewall. It actually serves as a firewall, and it actually helps you. It has advanced features that works with other features of the RouterOS, such as routing, traffic control, and load balancing. These three functionality inside the RouterOS actually need the firewall to work. Or rather than like the routing, if you have a firewall, it can help you to do a marking and decide on what, because the routing means that the packets going through the firewall device itself. So you have to analyze it. So RouterOS has a packet filter and NAT. Actually, it has a proxy, but it's a SOX proxy and the web proxy. And since RouterOS usually run in appliances environment, you should not run a heavy proxy inside the device. Otherwise, it will use up your resources for other purpose. Anyway, it's a RouterOS. It's supposed to do routing plus the firewall. The second feature in the RouterOS firewall is the mangle. Mangles actually is that you are doing some marking on all the packets that going through your device, but you are not doing anything actively or meaningful to that particular packets. Whatever that you want to do on that is decided, is being done whether in a packet filter or in the routing, and it's a stateful firewall. I think nowadays it's pretty hard to see any firewall that is a stateless firewall. And with the current situation around the world in the internet, I think stateless firewall is not a firewall anymore. And no one is actually using that. Anybody use stateless firewall here? You do? Good luck. You should use RouterOS Stateful. Okay, it's also support the IPv6. So it's the new technology that sooner or later you have to meet if you haven't met them. In the RouterOS firewall, you can find the menu about this in Winbox or in Webfield under the IP and firewall. This is the, at a glance, you can see everything what the firewall can use. So you can divide all the options or tribbles or whatever you call inside this, under this IP firewall menu, into 3 categories: rules, informational, and database. Based on each of the tabs, the menu tabs there, and to categorize. So when you look at this menu, right, don't be confused that, oh, there are so many things inside. What should I do? What is it doing? The actual menus that doing the action is only the rules, which is the first 3 tabs. So the first 3 tabs is filter, NAT, and mangle. So the filter, they have condition or matches, general, advanced, extra. These are the common tabs. When you go into each of the these 3 filter, NAT, and mangles, and you try to add the new things, you will always see this general, advanced, and extra, and action. These are the common tabs that you know each of the functionality we do. Okay, so there's also an actions and statistic. Statistics will show you each of these rules that you created, actually how many incoming and outgoing packets actually hit these rules. What is the number of packets per second? So besides that, this is also one of the tab that you want to look at. When you create a rules, you want to know whether this rule actually match what you want to filter. Let's say I want to block an IP address of 1.1.1.1. But how do you know that it's blocked? When you do you add the rules, you drop the connection with the source address, blah blah 1.1.1.1. Check the statistic. It will tell you whether this rules is being matched. Is there any hit into these rules? So under the general, these are the general things that you see. I think it's not, the resolution is not very good. Sorry about that. Okay, so is it clear? Can you see? Okay, there's of course there's a chain. So this list of chain is you can customize the chain. The chain name, you can put in a new chain, which is the group of the rules. You can create your new groups and do jumping. Jump is your best friend in firewall. Why? Because in RouterOS, when you go to each of the first 3 tabs, right, you have list of the rules. You have 100, 200 rules. You know how RouterOS works? You will go through all the rules. If there's a match one, then okay, you will go for that. But if you happen to try to filter a certain IP address, you put it at the 99th of your rules, it will go through the 1 up to 98 before it hit the 99. And this will create a performance problem on your firewall. So the jump function in the action, you can actually tell the firewall when you coming from certain condition, go to this group of the chain. So actually you have a 200 rules, but 100 is actually to monitor what is your LAN users is using, which is incoming interface is your LAN, and the other 100 is to monitor your WAN interface. So on the jump rules, you tell the firewall, hey, if this is coming from my WAN interface, go to this chain. So instead of going through 200 rules, you're only going through 100, and you can create as many groups as you want and jumping around. There's also a return where when you jump to another chain and doesn't hit any of the rules there, you can go back to the previous one. So you see there is an accept, add destination, source address. These are how actually you utilize the rules to record certain information that you need, particularly the destination address and to your certain address list. For example, you want to know who is trying to access port 80 on your router, or who is trying to access port 21 or FTP or SSH telnet inside your LAN, even though you have filtered out this thing, but you can have a rules actually to record what is the address trying to access this. This is the NAT, under the NAT tab. It's pretty simple. So you can actually translate the destination or translate the source. Usually for the source NAT, you are using this to allow your users from the LAN to go to the internet, to access the internet. And the destination NAT is, you are trying to change the destination of this packet, you want to modify it. This is usually used for a DMZ, or you want to redirect your users to somewhere else. This is the mangles. So you can see the mangles, when you try to add in, you can see the change is a bit different compared to the filter. Because in the mangles, there's a force pause routing and pre-routing. In the filter, you only see input, output, forward, and other custom change they actually created. So mangle is that to look at this, you have to go to the RouterOS wiki. Wiki is your best friend. So it's the best teacher, and Google. It will show you the flow, the packets from entering your RouterOS up to the packets actually left your device. You will see the flow on. Let me show you. So it will tell you that which part of the flow actually going and which certain step you want to filter out or make a marking on this device, the packets. So you can see this is a packet flow. This will tell you each of the chains, where it's going. You just search for Google, MikroTik packet flow. It will tell you how the things actually, which is going, through which change. So you can do a filtering as early as possible. Don't let it eat up your resources, then you decided to drop the packets. That will be a bit late. And version 6 is a bit different. I think version 7 is also, there should be some changes, but we will see when it's released. So informational, meaning that in a file system, this is like a read-only things. So you can't do anything. You can just open up, drink your coffee, look at it. There's nothing you can do in this step. So it has the information of current state of each of the connections that's going through your device. It will tell you what is the source and the IP address, destination IP address of this particular packets, the connection, which port. From the ports you can identify, you can guess, even though there's no guarantee, but you can guess that what this packet is trying to do on which application. And also you will know the protocols and the stat. But the stat, you only show up for the TCP IP. As I said, that we need to be familiar with the network protocols, so we know that only the TCP IP has a state. So you have established, state, and the others. The database part of the firewall is to help you to keep the information and decide what you want to do with this information. So you can record an attacker's IP address, extract it from your firewall, and maybe publish on the internet or tell everyone about it. Or you can collect this IP address and maybe share with other network administrators to have this implemented as a blacklist in their firewall. So it's the information is a very useful information, but you have to record it and decide what to do with it. That's for the address list, and this RouterOS Firewall also support the layer 7 application. So there's a layer 7 protocols that you use a regular expression to find out what is the regex of the particular application, like a peer-to-peer. You find out what is the regex, you record it, you add it into this database, and in your firewall rules, you will see an option for you to specify which entry in the layer 7 that you want to block, you want to allow, or even you want to do a mangle. So maybe you want to limit your BitTorrent speed, and you want to open up for any other applications, video applications, whatever, or voice applications, things. This is a very simple firewall, but it's very useful. So how many of you actually look at the default firewall from the MikroTik? It's a very simple few rules, but if you are using it for your internet gateway, actually it helps and it prevents fan out most of the attacks. Because by default, end user for the accessing internet, you just need to drop everything. Because you are not serving any users, you just want to access the internet. You just need the NAT rules, you drop everything, any request coming from external that related or established from your internet connection, allow it. Very simple. You can also, based on the protocols, you can create a different chains. You can create a chain for the TCP/IP. You can create a chain for UDP or ICMP and do a particular processing on these particular protocols. And just jump it. Found this protocol, jump. Process it, return it. Or you want to end the process is. These are some few reference links that I think is useful. Particularly the last one, your best friend, remember. You can find a lot of things there. A lot of things that you expect and a lot of things that you don't expect. Take a look at it. Questions? No? You can't wait for a Raffle?
For the beer and for the Raffle.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that was the last presentation, and that means that our meeting almost over. We have only a few things left, and the first thing is Raffle lottery. So you will get a chance to win more prizes, more router boards. So you will be able to build wireless, small wireless PVs some new prizes. Lottery rules are very simple. We will click the button and you see your name on the screen. When you see the name on the screen, you jump and run to get the prize. You have 5 seconds to jump and run. If you're not here, no prize for you. We will have prizes from MikroTik and prizes from the exhibitors. Then the next part, after lottery, as I told you in the beginning, we will have a beer on the hall. For those who don't allow to drink a beer or doesn't drink a beer, you will be able to drink some cola or some drinks. So we are welcoming you to an official meeting just outside the hall. Okay, let's start with Raffle. So the first prize will be map light, small access point